Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today, yes, we are continuing our top 5 pairing series. This is going to be our part 2, or I guess episode 2 video, if I really even want to call it that. But we're going to be focusing today on free-to-play pairings, right? What are the top 5 best F2P, or F2P, I think is what we meant to say, free-to-play pairings. Currently right now for the month of December 2022, and then of course going onward, at least until they start releasing some more heroes. So that's what we're going to be focusing on and talking about the pairings. We'll do some breakdowns just like we did with the Pay to Win series. And as always, right before we get started, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. And remember, new videos are coming out every day at 14 UTC in-game time, which can be shown here top right, outside of game 9 a.m. EST or Eastern. All right, so let's go ahead and break this down for our, again, top 5 free-to-play pairings right now. So, starting at number 1, I have, let me see what we got here. Starting number 1, we got Waldir Alwyn, right? So, Waldir, and then, again, because typically in the pay-to-win, right, we run something like a Lilia. Obviously, you have to pay for that, even if it's $1 or however much, right? It's just the one purchase. But, in the sense, we will run Waldir with Alwyn, and you can see here it's magic PvP control versus magic PvP skills. Again, I think if you're just going to run magic PvP tree, it doesn't necessarily matter who's first. Really, the big decision maker is going to be on, are you valuing the skills tree if you decide to dip into that? Or are you going to value the control tree a little bit more, right? If so, then you're going to run Alwyn primary and then Waldir secondary. However, I still think it's okay to run Waldir primary and then Alwyn secondary. But as I said, it's good to do your due diligence so that way you know what type of skill set you want to run. Because remember, the skill set you run is who you want to be your primary. Number 2, and again, we're running these two because they're magic oriented, right? And because we're not able to get a magic PvP, right? You can get Nika, Emrys, and Garwood, and then you also get Nico. But Nico's marksman, right? So they don't currently have a free-to-play legendary magic that you can get, right? Again, because remember, it's just at the moment, right? We have Lilia, who's magic, and then if you look at everyone else, right? There's no one else that's magic at this time. Number 2 pairing we have here is going to be Atheist Eliana, right? And I want to point out, right, you could flex this a bit. However, I like this because it's magic PvP, and then Eliana is honestly just a great secondary, right? We've talked about this before with Eliana, Hosk, and Indus, right? These are great options that you can run for kind of an overall overall deputies, right, or secondaries that are just good to use with whomever. So, right, this is something that I think is really good in that sense. So then we have, and again, remember with the peacekeeping support, right, and then you're running, and this is something to keep in mind, is that a lot of the skill sets you're going to have with Eliana, right, it's shield magic, it's magic focused, right, you're not really going to be using the second one too much, which is peacekeeping, but you use this one, right, which is normal attack reduction, you use casting rage skills for Legion Shelter, and then the ultimate 2 as well, right, Divine Shield giving the 70% chance to receive healing when attacked. So again, all of those things are going to be factored into, right, just kind of adding and buffing your magic. So again, that would be number 2. Then we end up getting over to our number 3. So number 3 here is going to be Emrys Alistair. Emrys, right, you can run primary Cav PvP mobility, and then Alistair is going to be your epic Cav, right? And this is Cav rally tank. So again, Emrys is most likely going to be the primary here, so you'll probably go Emrys Alistair. Again, it just makes sense. You're running double Cav here because these are 2 options you can get on free to play. Then we end up getting over to our 3rd, which is Nico Guanwin, right? And this is actually one that we often have been seeing also ran on the pay-to-win pair, right? So there's not much difference here. Again, Nico is one you can get free, and that's marksman, and then we're going to run Guanwin, right? This is marksman precision, and then you have Guanwin, which is marksman precision. So there's not a difference here as far because you're not really going to run peacekeeping for PvP. So in this case, you can get away running Nico Guanwin. Remember, right, the skills are going to be used no matter what on the deputies, and the levels and capacity will be factored in as well. It's mainly just the trees, right, your talent trees. where only the primary will have that effect. So it's not going to be that much of a difference, to be honest. So that's why I say it's okay if you really wanted to get away running Nico Guano in here. Last one is going to be Garwood Nika, right? And this is basically the kind of budget version of Madeline Nika that you would more ideally want to run if you're pay to win. However, Garwood Nika is where you would go here. Now, you can also do Nika Garwood, right? Just like we talked about in the pay-to-win pairing, it just depends if you want a little bit more damage as the priority. And the example here is that with Garwood, you're going to run infantry tank on your talent tree, right? You'll probably dive maybe more into infantry. Maybe you might go more into tank, right? So again, it just depends. With Nika, you would do infantry skills, right? So this is why you just have to debate or figure out what you want to do. Do you want to go a little bit more damage? And if so, then you'll run Nika first, Garwood deputy. If you want a little bit more tank slash, maybe hybrid sustain, and that would be if you go infantry full, then tank on your secondary tree, or if you go full tank tree and then you dip a little bit into infantry, right? So you actually have a couple ways that you can build this pairing out. It just really depends on what your preference is. And then, like we talked about as well in the pay-to-win tree, right, your sixth potential pairing, and this is only if you wanted to flex Atheist in just a different direction. Instead of running him with Eliana, you could run him with Craig if you wanted to go flying and dip a little bit there into that pool. Otherwise, with this setup, you're going to have 2 mages, a cav, an infantry, and then archer, right? That's how you would set this up. And remember, we're not breaking down. We'll do another video on that. Like if you wanted to try and get run as many archers or as many mages or as many infantry legions as you can because you really wanted to specialize, we'll talk about that in future videos. This is really just mainly looking at what are the top 5 best ideal pairings that you can run, right, with some flexibility on customization for talent trees, but what are the most ideal pairings you can run as a free-to-play player right now? Because remember, there's only 17 heroes, and then 3 of those heroes are more flex picks. Again, like we talked about with Eliana, Indis, and a Hosk. And again, that's just because those ones are not necessarily specialized, right? We touched on this before. Eliana's overall. If you look at Indis, this is overall as well. If you look at Hosk, you're looking at overall, right? So they don't necessarily have a specialty. This is why they're also good in other Legion pairs. Again, this is, I would say, more so until you have a situation where remember, first off, we're really talking about PvP here, and like I said, it's just until we get more PvP heroes that are going to be released and come out, this will change, but because we have this kind of finite resources of options at this time, this really kind of goes into the most ideal situations that you can run. With that in mind, that is it for me. So I would love to hear what you guys think, right? If you're on the free-to-play side and, you've been grinding since, like, the first couple beta servers, do you like any of these pairings? Are you running any of them? Do you have a difference of opinion? Maybe you're running some different options. What talent trees have you been finding that are a little bit more viable or ones that you preferably like? Regardless if they're ones I mentioned or maybe different, I'd love to hear. So let me know anything and everything in the comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.